We are now live and recording. So I'll give people a chance to, where is it? So far we have, I'll give attendees a chance to come in. Welcome everyone from the public. We're just going to give everybody a minute to let the attendees join, and then we'll get started. We have one more minute. We have about 11 attendees so far.
I wanted to be bright.
I know, I feel like I like that background.
I love the chandelier. We never want to clean it, though.
Okay, let's get started. I think where people are still joining, but we will go ahead and get started. It's 5:01. I don't technically have to read the part about the public open meeting law because this is not considered an open meeting file under that. This is a public engagement session that we're thrilled to have the members of the public here to give us some feedback. But I do want to at least make sure people who are on the phone know who is here with us tonight. So welcome and thank you all for joining us tonight. This is going to be a presentation on our application to the Shared Winter Streets and Spaces Grant that is offered by the Commonwealth. And we are going to run through a quick presentation of what we have proposed to the state. We have not heard back yet and ask for feedback from the attendees. So there will be a question and answer at the end. So with us tonight on the panel. So right now it looks like we have 18 attendees. For those on the phone, when we get to question and answer, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't done this one in a while, to raise your hand. There's a raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. If you're on a phone, you hit *9 to raise your hand. And to unmute yourself, you would hit *6 if you're on the phone. It looks like most people are not, and I can help with that when we get to question and answer. Again, thank you for joining us. And tonight with us on the panel are our mayor, Safathia Romeo-Taken. Myself, I'm Jill Cahill. I'm the Community Development Director. Greg Catamatori, our Planning Director, and Michael Hale, our Director of Public Works. And our consultants that we're working with on this application is Environmental Partners. And we have joining us tonight, Jim Fitzgerald, who's the Director of Transportation and has been working very closely with us on this application. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. So I want to just give a quick overview of the application, then we'll get into more detail. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind here is the proposed physical improvements that we're going to go through tonight are one of many tools and grant programs that the city is pursuing to help our local businesses recover from the impacts of the pandemic and help our community have a safe and successful spring and summer season. So this is just one very narrow part of that larger effort. So tonight what you'll hear will complement some of the many other things that are going on that we'll have lots of opportunities to talk about as well. We submitted, this is the Shared Winter Streets and Spaces Grant Program. You can apply for up to $300,000 and the goals have to promote outdoor activities and winter programming. We submitted in this round, there's actually been 4 rounds with an eye specifically to spring. And improve safety of walking and bicycling. You'll see from this application that we really focused on mobility and walkability and connectivity of our harbor area and the downtown area, and improve walking accessibility for all ages and abilities. So you'll see a large focus on ADA accessible ramps on Main Street and Rogers Street. For us, this was really about improving pedestrian safety and mobility for residents and visitors, and improving that visual connection between Main Street and the waterfront, and just really starting to connect some of the important parking options to, and connecting some more of our cultural assets with our business area. This slide goes over the decision criteria that the state has set up. So the project had to be a city-owned infrastructure, had to serve an environmental justice community, facilitate accessibility for children, youth, and seniors, promote walkability and access for all ages and abilities through ADA compliant infrastructure, and enhance connectivity and access to public transit, parks, and other open spaces. So I'm going to hand this over to Jim, and he can go through the specifics. I do want to preface this too, just so people know the locations, they identified improvements, specific locations were all identified in a previous study that Mike worked on out of the DPW. That is an overall accessibility, ADA and accessibility plan for the city of Gloucester. I should note that in the application, and as we've discussed with the administration and the mayor, this is just one step in that process. We understand that there are lots of accessibility issues that need to be addressed, and we are committed to continuing to address them. These have risen, these came out in that assessment as kind of top priority. And so in what we fit into this specific grant proposal. So know that we do understand that this is a citywide issue, but for this grant purpose, we had to really focus it in one area. So take it away, Jim.
Thanks, Jill. So this slide here illustrates the project locations that we focused on. As Jill had just mentioned, it was based on previous city efforts in inventorying citywide pedestrian accommodations, and focusing in on where the priorities fall, looking at things such as proximity to schools, businesses, and public spaces, in combination certainly with the accommodations and the condition of those accommodations. As a result of those efforts, these locations shown here in circle that have been circled rose to the top as being priority, and also priority locations, and also things that really fit the bill for this funding program. So for presentation purposes, we have encompassed the project areas and designated them into 2 different locations, location 1 and 2. We start in with location 1. Here in the orange circles are the locations that are included in location 1. Starting from the left side of the slide, you can see Washington Street adjacent to the American Legion. There are 2 locations along Main Street on either side of Short Street, and then 1 location along Rogers Street. And in those locations, many of those locations consist of wheelchair ramps that are not ADA compliant. Many of them are all brick and do not have the required tactile panel at the bottom of the ramp. And so what the project would include would be to restripe the crosswalks at each of those 4 locations, and include a cement concrete wheelchair ramp on either side of those crosswalks to be ADA compliant. So that would include the tactile panel, and it would be, again, cement concrete, which was the Mass DOT standard wheelchair ramp. Next, these are the locations that we designated falling into location number 2. Starting at the bottom of the slide, you see Rogers Street. There's a crosswalk adjacent to Parsons Street that would be included. Likewise, if we followed up the slide a bit, to the other end of Parsons along Main Street. There's also a crosswalk. And then this would also include the 4 crosswalks and wheelchair ramps at the Main Street, Pleasant Street, Duncan Street intersection. Again, several of these wheelchair ramps also are all brick and lack the ADA requirements having to do with the tactile panels and slopes. And so these would be reconstructed to be cement concrete with, again, the tactile panel that is required. One other thing to point out here is that the crosswalk along Rogers is being considered for a potential rectangular rapid flashing beacon, otherwise known as an RRFB. We're investigating this further with the city. An RRFB it's a static sign in combination with lights that only become illuminated when a pedestrian presses the button. It really helps to attract or draw attention to the pedestrian crossing at a crosswalk so that the motorist is aware that they're coming, especially when there's on-street parking. It really does help to improve pedestrian safety. Again, it's just something that's being considered as part of this grant opportunity. Next, we're going to dive in a little bit further into Parsons Street. This is an important part of this grant application. So we're just going to zoom in on that a little bit. And certainly Parsons Street is an important asset for the city in that it provides a great connection between parking opportunities and Main Street, alternative parking. And it's, again, a great asset to have to be able to provide this pedestrian connectivity. And starting at the southern end of Parsons along Rogers Street, the project would include not only reconstructing the wheelchair ramp that's there, but extending the cement concrete treatment across the driveway apron so that the pedestrians have continuous accommodations that are ADA compliant. And again, it would be cement concrete to really decipher alongside the asphalt pavement. Also, another element of the project is to reconstruct Parsons Street itself. Currently, the pavement is heaving in different places. It's not ADA compliant. And so the goal would be to reconstruct Parsons Street from Rogers Street to Main Street with improved asphalt and some sort of potential treatment, surface treatment to designate that this area of this section of roadway is actually shared by both pedestrians and motorists, since there is an adjacent parking lot on the corner of Parsons and Rogers. So one alternative to the Parsons Street surface treatment would certainly be to reconstruct, again, with asphalt and to replace perhaps a similar pavement marking treatment that's out there today, albeit on a much smoother pavement, to designate that, again, this is a special area where the pedestrians are traveling. Another alternative that we've considered in this process has been to designate where the pedestrian should be located in relation to motorists entering and exiting the adjacent parking area. So if you see on the slide, on the left side of the slide, potentially identifying the left side of Parsons as we travel along that parking lot as the designated area where the pedestrians are to walk. Again, these are all different treatments that are being considered by the city as part of this project.
Thank you.
Back to you, Jill.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor, do you want to say a few words?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank our community development team. Thank you so much. I know it's a team effort. And we're very fortunate between, Jill, Greg, and Sal. We've got a lot, and the team also extends more, but we're very thankful to the DPW because, adding more and more and more when we're doing a lot, but it's always telling us, don't worry about it. We can handle it. Whatever's best for the city, we're going to do it. And that's great. And for the Commonwealth, actually, because even though the grant's not there yet, but just the opportunity to do this for downtown and to make sure that, our safety is really important, to make sure that, all pedestrians are able to go out, walk around, to enjoy mobility is very important for downtown too, because we want to make sure that, we're turning 400. Doesn't mean we have to stay in that way on our sidewalks and streets. We need to improvement. And when we can do that with collaboration with the Commonwealth, that's a relief. And I'm sure Mike will let you know the process on that one. So I want to hear what everyone has to say. And I'm so thankful, James, thank you for coming forward and working with us, because, some of the advices that, like early, I can tell you all the advices I want. It doesn't mean we're going to take them. But the fact is, what's more important is that downtown become alive and vibrant, and let them know that our waterfront is too. And we're getting ready for the 400th, and it really is important to the whole city, not just our team, but the whole city, that we work together. So I am going to now mute and listen to what people have to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to just make a note again about, I'm sure there's people on this call who have lots of ideas for downtown and lots of feedback, and we are looking forward to hearing that. Tonight's questions, if we can keep them, please focus on this particular grant proposal. That would be much appreciated. I want to give everybody the heads up that we have been notified that we're a recipient of the local rapid recovery planning grant, which is also part of the economic development package. And that we should be hearing from them this week and launching in March, an opportunity to really focus on the larger discussion around downtown that focuses on both short-term goals of outdoor dining, parking, lighting, permitting, kind of all the things that we did quickly last year. How can we do them better for this year? And it also includes a larger long-term discussion about a possible Main Street program or business improvement district infrastructure needs on a larger level. So we will have that opportunity for that broader, larger discussion this spring, which we're very thankful to the Commonwealth for the funding for that, and we're looking forward to that. So tonight, please, let's try to keep our questions focused on this particular project. A quick update on timeline, and I'll let Mike answer any questions about the construction schedule. But this grant, this funding, we need to be done by May 31st at the latest. And I know that Mike's team is ready to go. So I think if there's questions about that, I will hand those over to Mike. So if people have questions or feedback on what they've heard tonight, please feel free to raise your hand, attendees. Again, if you're on the computer, it should be at the bottom of your screen. And if you're on the phone, it should be *9. And I will kind of field through the questions and hand them off to people as needed. Jim, do you maybe want to go back to one of the overview slides? Because I have a feeling people will have questions about specific spaces. And so if you have a specific space question, we can kind of flip through them. I see former City Council President Joe Cellino has his hand up. So Joe, I will unmute you. Thanks for coming, Joe. Oh, no, I thought I unmuted you. You're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
All right, it's a good presentation tonight. I'm glad I tuned in. Two things I just want to discuss. One is, James, you talked about that sign on Parsons Street, no, excuse me, on Rogers Street that lights up. This one currently at Gordon's up the street, right at the top of the hill, that they push a button and lights up. And, Rogers Street is a speedway. And, I think that should be on the top of the list, get that done, to get people to, especially that intersection with the building center, It's really dangerous. People, cars are coming in 4 different directions. But it's already in place. You don't need to experiment. It works. There were a couple of bad accidents at over there at Gordon's for the help, crossing the street to the parking lot from the factory, and they put in that sign. And I go there, I go home that way, and I see that thing blinking. And a lot of times you don't see the people that are trying to cross. So it's a good idea. I would suggest you put it on a top priority to get it done. The second thing I want to talk about is Parsons Street. I like, what you're coming up with, and it's kind of interesting that, how you want to make it wheelchair accessible. It's going to be a little bit of engineering because it's really steep,
Mhm.
To get up there. But one of the things that that's happened is that some lighting for Parsons Street was put in temporarily a year or two ago, and it's not very bright. It serves a purpose, but I think in your planning stage, if you're going to rip it up, that you should install proper lighting. So when people go there at night, it's well lit. That's a concern. Sometimes, Main Street is very pleasant during the day, but sometimes the atmosphere changes at night, and it'd be nice to have that well lit.
Mhm.
That's pretty much, what I have to say, about what's going on. Um, uh, One last thing that if there are any improvements in the hardware, like benches or whatever that needs to happen. Long ago, the DDC, we had a decorator come in and gave us a plan for the improvements downtown, which are with the fixtures and the planters, and the color is black. And I've been noticing that when we get a new bench and new this, that it's been coming in different colors, greens and whatever. So we need to go back to that to have a scheme. So one end of Main Street is the same as the other Main Street. The benches all match. I'm sure Mike Hale is familiar with it. Well, whatever we do in this phase, and if we do install any type of fixtures, that they should be, the color black, because that's what the majority of everything is in. So other than that, I'm looking forward to listening to all the comments. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I see Counselor Cox has her hand up. I have you unmuted.
Hi, can you hear
Hi.
me?
We can, thank you.
I just have one great presentation. I'm very much looking forward to all of this. Super excited. Thank you for going for the grant. When you're going up Washington towards the Rotary, just north of Middle Street, that intersection there, maybe across from Scalafani's, that crosswalk is, I've got a lot of complaints about people speeding through there, and when people are parked on either side, it's hard to see the people in the crosswalk. And a lot of the neighbors have suggested those crosswalk signs that you put in the middle of the road. I'm generally not a fan of those, but are we thinking about putting any of those in with this grant?
I don't, the ones that go in the road?
Yeah, they're stand-up signs. They go in the middle of the between the two lanes. They often end up in the trash because they get hit a lot in drug miles. But
they are not currently proposed in this grant. I will say, Counselor, if you want to see, so there is a plan that identifies all the needs in the intersections. We'd be happy to go through that with you to talk about where that particular intersection falls. But no, we have not introduced anything new like that. One of the things that we're very sensitive to, and Mike can speak to, is making sure that whatever we install can be maintained and doesn't become a larger burden for the city to keep in working condition. So at the moment, that's not on there, but it's always, we always can consider those for discussion.
I am also a big fan of not creating more maintenance for the city. So I tend to agree with you. I'm just wondering if there's a better, more modern solution to trying to get attention to the middle of the crosswalks. So far I haven't seen anything. So
I'll let Jim is more of an expert in this. So I don't know, Jim, if you have a response for the counselor.
It really depends on the location. Honestly, I'd have to look at it specifically. I know the flexible bollards that you're referring to with the small sign on it. And certainly there's a time and place for every treatment, but I'd have to really see the specific location, see if what the right application would be, quite honestly.
great, thank you. Next time you're out, let me know and I'll walk you around.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. That sounds great.
All right. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
counselor. Was that all?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Adam Farber has his hand up. Let's see. All right, Adam, you should be all set. Hope you're still muted on.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for doing this. This is great. Two questions. Are these changes and updates only going to happen if this grant comes through, or if we do not get the grant, are these still in the plan? Is my first question. Second question is, Jill, you had mentioned trying to do more to connect parking on Main Street and by the seaport with Main Street. Is signage part of this? And maybe that's part of a different plan altogether, but signage while people are driving to point them to parking lots, and then signage after they park to guide them towards other areas.
So, okay, so two questions, and Mike, you can jump in on the first part if you see fit. So so the larger plan of these improvements is with DPW and is part of the overall sidewalk and accessibility improvements. This grant, we feel pretty confident about this grant as it's part of the larger economic development package. So I think with this grant will accelerate them getting done. Would you say that's a correct answer, Mike? Do you want to add anything?
No, Joe, I think that's pretty accurate. As funding allows itself, we try to make improvements to pedestrian access citywide. All paving projects with new sidewalks are ADA compliant, and we have picked away at the ones we can in the downtown area with some, I wouldn't call it discretionary funding, but some additional funding that we may have in our budget. So it's funding. Everything's funding dependent.
But we're feeling pretty good about this one, and most importantly, it kind of helps us accelerate getting some of these done in time for this season. And signage. So signage is not a part of this particular grant, but I absolutely, Adam, bring that up. We talked about it at the beginning of this, but again, the scope and the budget is quite small from DOT. So the signage questions, the lighting question that Joe brought up, those are things that I definitely want to keep as part of the conversation for the next part of the planning grant, because the way the state is rolling this out is these two were kind of off timeline, right? The planning and the implementation came before the planning, but they've inferred to us that there'll be more implementation grants following. So definitely part of the continued conversation, signage and lighting, but not included in this particular proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Adam. I have Joanne. I don't want to say your last name wrong, so I'm going to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I am Joanne Chirico. I have Good Linen Studio on Main Street.
Oh, fantastic.
And first of all, like everyone else, I appreciate all this work. I really like, the different surface treatments on Parsons Street. I think that's a great idea. I'm just curious as to why that street versus Porter Street, because as someone who lives right up the street from Porter Street, cars just go flying through that crosswalk as well. Even when I'm sort of halfway into the crosswalk, people just fly right through. So it seems like you could use another one of those flashing,
Okay.
flashing posts there.
Okay, so you're suggesting I'll take for that we take a look at another the possibility of another RFBB. I think that's what you call them, right? I've learned a lot about crosswalks in the last couple months. At the end of Porter and Rogers.
Absolutely. Either,
Okay.
you know, either that one or the one that's right in front of Cape Ann Savings. Both of those, I mean, it's one crosswalk after the other and people fly through both. And there are, you know, there are cars that can park right across from Cape Ann Savings and then right sort of in front of it on Porter, on Rogers Street, I'm talking.
Right.
So either one of those crosswalks, it would be a huge benefit to have the flashing sign, because also people go over to lap 43. No, I'm gonna forget what it's called now, but people just walk across the street there too. And when cars are flying by, it's bad. Yeah, even when you're halfway out, as I said.
Yeah, the mid-block crossings and the crossings of Rogers are definitely something we talked about. For this project, we focused on the Parsons Street because of the pedestrian access and the ADA accessibility goals of Parsons, that particular walkability piece. But that's definitely something that we will take into consideration. And just so everyone knows, I am taking notes. I don't know if you can see that or not. So all of these things are, you know, we'll go back to our team for discussion and back to the state for, you know, when we get feedback on the grant, so on the proposal. So thank you. We'll take that into consideration.
All right, I have one other thing, and I
course.
don't know if this is something that can sort of be woven into what you're already doing, but there are several spots along Main Street where the concrete has heaved, and one of them happens to be right in front of my shop. And I have seen so many people take a header there. And I'm wondering if there's some kind of a process by which you can grind down that part that has heaved. Because we're talking about safety here. I feel like those spots that are heaved are a huge safety issue. And the other safety issue is sort of the inconsistency in the granite, the granite that is around the trees on Main Street, right in front of the West End Salon and Spa. That is a place where I've seen people fall with regularity because they just catch their foot. Everything kind of narrows down right in front of the salon, and they catch their foot on the granite curbing that goes around the tree and go flying. So I don't know what the answer is, because there is such inconsistency all the way up and down the street with what's around the trees. But I feel like that's a big thing to look at. And, you know, I've seen in different cities where they have either seating around the, around the tree, like some kind of a bench or something that just sort of, you know, allows people to say, hey, there's something happening there. I'm going to look up and not trip right here. So yeah, I think if anyone's paying attention to that's another problem on Main Street.
Yeah, absolutely, Joanne. Thank you. Mike is on the call, so he heard you. So from the DPW perspective, it's not covered in this current grant, but these are the topics and the things that we will definitely be discussing in the next one. To prepare for this grant, so you know, each of our teams, well, Mike and his team obviously know every inch of sidewalk in the city, but the DPW team and the community development team walked Main Street and identified many of the things that you're talking about as well. So know that they're on the list, and we are working towards trying to find some remedies for them. But thank you for bringing them up for sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. William Gleckner.
Yeah. Hi. I'm just wondering if it's sort of within the bounds of the grant.
Oh, you muted yourself there. You muted yourself. William? There you are.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, I was just wondering if it's within the grant or whether it's something you considered to put any vegetation or tree, for example, on the Parsons Street.
It's actually not within this grant, because it's a DOT grant. But so we did not discuss it within this funding. It wouldn't be eligible within this, but again, certainly something that we could think about longer term. I think if with the resurfacing now, we definitely, I don't think that putting a tree into that at this time would make sense if we're going to resurface it, but we are definitely taking into consideration for this next step of discussion, additional aesthetic improvements, including the lighting. And I think greenery in general could certainly be a part of that discussion.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was just wondering because maybe, you know, rather than resurfacing it, then resurfacing it again, you know, you would
Exactly,
leave
yeah.
a spot for a tree.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. I think what a lot of you are getting to is definitely part of the larger discussion here, which is making Parsons Street a more welcoming and inviting area to walk through. And that is absolutely the goal here. Is we have parking available on Rogers. We want to connect Rogers and Main Street as much as possible. So all of this input related to making Parsons Street a more welcoming walking area is definitely the goal. So this is one part of that, but we'll continue and try to pursue funding options for more of it as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Other attendees, anybody else have questions? Just saw a hand go up. Where'd it go? I don't want to say your name wrong. Linnea, I'm gonna unmute you. I apologize if I said your name wrong. You've been unmuted, but you're still appearing as muted on your end. There you go.
All right.
Yes.
Okay,
Please introduce
so,
yourself.
yeah, you nailed my name. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So I work at Senior Care, and Senior Care is also the backbone agency for the Age and Dementia Friendly Cape Ann initiative. And I just really want to give a shout out and applause for this. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's right in line with age friendly practices. I love transportation vocabulary, so I'm going to say I would also give another thumbs up for that RRFB. And I do think that it's really a part of, you know, integrating everyone into the Cape Ann community and everyone having that kind of access to be able to get out and enjoy the beauties that we have in Gloucester. And it's, you know, great for people with strollers as well as people in wheelchairs, and, you know, getting the crosswalks in place. So thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing, you know, these changes and any other changes that come along.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that feedback. And just for the public's information, part of the grant application required us to identify community assets that this would improve walkability and access for. Obviously, the senior center downtown was one of them. The library, Cape Ann Museum, Art Haven for the youth. So we totally agree with you that we think that this will make getting around on Main Street much easier. And as the daughter of a person who often is pushing my mom around here downtown on a wheelchair, I am very much in support and understand the barriers to getting around. So I'm looking forward to this project as well. Other hands up. Looks like I have one, but I gotta see if I can find them. Panelists or Mayor, Mike, Mayor, Greg, anybody from our city team have anything else they want to add?
Just want to say that, you know what, I agree with some of actually with all of them. I fell a couple of times on Main Street. I hated it when they first put it on, especially the bricks. And I said, why do we do, and this is my concern with everyone else's. If we're going to do a project, we need to do a project we're going to be able to maintain. In the past or whatever, we do projects and then there's no funding to maintain them, or there's something that happens and this is what I don't want. I want to make sure, and I'm sure Council Clark's on here and community development, we want to make sure that we maintain things. Because the fact is, when they did the bricks, we knew they were going to pop up, and who's going to maintain them? You can't go individually pushing them down. That's one of my other main concerns is, you know what, we need to make the sidewalks accessible for everyone. And we know in certain weathers, and we know the way it goes down, just on the crosswalk by Shot and Main and Designing, that ramp, whatever you want to call that, is hideous. Absolutely hideous, and so many people have fallen. So, I mean, I hear your concerns. As far as lighting, Joe, I agree. One unified lighting, one unified lighting. Let's not go about, we're going to do that. I like the idea, and to see what we can do on that one. I like the idea about the tree where they have like those circular benches all around, so you sit around like a whole tree when it's big enough. So you have to look at that, and hopefully these trees will go beautifully. And so thank you. And I understand going to Scalafani's all the time, Council Clark's concerns on that. And it's hard, but you know, maybe a flashing light or something, you know, and it all costs it. But if we don't think about it, and if we don't look at it, and we don't get, you know, the cost of things, it's never going to get done. And so James is here. He's going to put all of his suggestions, and he's going to tell the Commonwealth that you're going to have to give them the full 300,000 because they need some more lights and they need some more things. And it's an old city. And in order for us to do that, now, if they, I don't know what we asked for 100%, but if we get the full 300,000, which we should, and then because you're going to tell them we need this all done before summer comes. So we have to all done by the end of, when is it? And so the end of May. So that'd be kind of nice. Maybe by that time, since Council Cox is on finances, she can find something for maybe a sign here and there to help, you know, with parking and directions. So, you know what, we work together, and that's what we want to do, is to make the city not only friendly, but also safe. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, everyone who participated. Like I said, this is just one small piece of many. I hope you guys will all join us. You'll start to hear, if you're not, you'll start to hear about these things. As you know, social media, the mayor's Facebook page is always a place to find it. We will have things listed on the website. If you are not, if you're not on our email list, please feel free to join it. Go to the business resources page on our website. I also want to thank Cape Ann Chamber and Discover Gloucester. They are incredible partners to the city in all things economic development, and also messaging and reaching out to their members to get you guys involved. So I think Ken and Elizabeth, you're on here. Thank you both so much for continuing to be a partner on this, and stay engaged. Let's keep this conversation going, and we'll take this feedback back to our team and the state team, and hopefully we'll have a great grant announcement in the next couple weeks. If you have any further feedback, please feel free to follow up with me directly. My email is jcahill, which is CAHILL @gloucester-ma.gov. And the phone line here at Community Development is 978-325-5230, all of which you can find on the website. And we'll post this presentation on the website as well. So if you have any follow-up comments or thoughts after, please share them with us. And thank you, Jim from Environmental Partners, for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure to work with.
Thank you. Likewise.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody.